Rodeo.
I have said in chat that Yellowstone on Paramount Plus is like The Godfather, but with cowboys. But that simile only works if you are familiar with The Godfather. I think a more appropriate endorsement for the viewers of this channel would be, if you like Red Dead Redemption 2, you will love Yellowstone. If you are new to this channel, greetings! I'm your friendly neighbor Super Antonio, and please be sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell if you would enjoy seeing more of my Red Dead Redemption 2 content. Yellowstone stars Kevin Costner as the patriarch of the Dutton family, an 8th-generation cattle rancher and owner of the biggest ranch in Montana, and it is my new favorite TV show. Yellowstone is filmed on location in Montana with breathtaking scenery, a specific attention to the majesty and beauty of our national parks and wildlife that makes me proud of my country and want to visit Montana. It is a ranch, and that means cattle and horses. So many horses. Horses are still a way of life on this show. They are working animals, and as a viewer we get a taste of that lifestyle and responsibility. There's a scene where Tate, the half-native grandson, wants dessert, and Kevin Costner as the grandfather asks him if it's fair that he gets to eat dessert before his new horse, that Tate named Lucky, gets to have his dinner. I like that gentle reminder that you are responsible for something other than yourself, the values that simple question teaches. And, no spoilers, that scene is just a setup for something bad that happens, because this is a TV show that tells a story, and that means drama and action. But it's the little things, the details that surround this series, that keep me interested, keep me watching. And as a show, the plot is kind of formulaic, not a criticism, merely an observation. It is a formula that works. The Dutton family is beset on all sides by forces that want the land, that want to take the ranch, and has been for the past 150 years. The season will introduce a big bad, usually from California or the East Coast, some land developer or investment company that has no idea of the real value of the land and always underestimates John Dutton and his family, and their ability to defend and hold onto the ranch. They don't realize that it's still the Wild West out here. Different rules apply, and justice is not some abstract court ruling on paper. You can get shot and thrown off a cliff out here, or hung from a tree. By horseback, of course. The action is visceral, violent, and emotionally satisfying. It is a modern Western, with all that entails. This is not a show for kids. It's definitely a hard R, with smoking, and F-bombs, and blood, and nudity. A lot more nudity than one would expect. You can blame the internet and Instagram for that. The show has to compete, and I guess a modern audience demands a nudie element in their TV shows. What can you do? Don't get me wrong, I am a fan of the female form, and the scenes are tasteful and germane to the plot, for what it's worth. This is not a show for children. And as a modern Western, Yellowstone embodies a lot of values that I appreciate and seem to be in short supply in modern television. Family, tradition, loyalty, hard work and discipline. Waking up with the sunrise to feed the horses and start your day. Also, unbridled ambition, hubris, jealousy, and vengeance. But those are just the elements you need to tell a great story with fantastic characters, and I do love these characters. In fact, this is quite possibly the only series I have ever watched where I immediately liked every character as they were introduced, even the bad guys. Kevin Costner stars as the patriarch John Dutton of the Yellowstone Dutton Ranch, a hard, emotionally distant father who has been fighting all of his life. We meet him at the height of his power. He has the biggest ranch, he is the livestock commissioner, which is sort of like being the chief of police, and he is intimate friends with the governor. He's Kevin Costner after all, and he's still got it. Also an executive producer of the show, which is a great move on his part. Kevin Costner is one of the last of the great movie stars, a dying breed, much like the character he plays, and he has played his fair share of cowboys in his career. Who can forget his Oscar-winning performance in Dances with Wolves? Or Silverado? Or Wyatt Earp? Or even 1995's Waterworld, which is one of his rare box office bombs, but holds up extremely well over time. My point is, we know Kevin Costner, he is familiar to us, and the character he plays in Yellowstone is a perfect fit for him at this stage in his life. But it's nothing new. He is a cowboy father, struggling to keep his family and ranch together. Luke Grimes is Kayce Dutton, the youngest son and the golden boy who went his own way and became a Navy SEAL before returning to Yellowstone, marrying a Native American girl, forsaking his birthright and living on the res, eking out a meager living as a horse wrangler. The first season is all about repairing his relationship with his father and taking his rightful place on the ranch. But again, this is another character we have seen before. Handsome, ex-Navy SEAL with authority issues? That's like every action hero of the past 40 years. However, Kelly Riley is the sister and only daughter Beth Dutton, and she plays a character I have never seen before. Beth is described by colleagues as an assassin in a business sense, also a Rottweiler, a shark, and a bear, and those descriptions tell you everything you need to know about her. Beth is a hard-drinking, hard-smoking, lots of smoking in this show, self-destructive financial genius who is completely loyal to her family and fiercely dedicated to preserving the ranch and her father's legacy. Beth is quite possibly the best, quote, strong female character, unquote, that I have seen in the last 10 years. She throws a mean punch, but she can be easily overwhelmed because she's only about 100 pounds. Instead, she uses her sexuality, intellect, and razor-sharp wit to hold her own against the men she encounters. In business, in bars, and yes, the bedroom. I have been following Kelly Riley's career with interest ever since she caught my attention on Britannia, an Amazon Prime series where she portrayed a red-headed Celtic warrior queen. Not Boadicea, but the character was obviously based on her. And you know I have a weakness for redheads. Also, I should point out that we don't really know these people as much as we pretend to, and they are not our friends. We pay them so much thought and attention it may seem that way, but it's an illusion, a smokescreen, much like the characters they portray. However, I can easily say that Beth is one of my favorite characters of all time, and I will start every episode wondering, what's Beth gonna do next? Another fascinating character is Jamie Dutton, as portrayed by Wes Bentley, the middle child and consigliere, if we return to the Godfather metaphor. He's basically Tom Hagen, the family lawyer. Jamie is a great negotiator, and so sharp intellectually, and yet so weak morally, and that dichotomy creates an interesting dynamic for me. Jamie struggles to find his place in the family, approval from his father, and he has completely subjugated all of his professional ambition in service of his father and the ranch, which will turn out to be a fatal flaw. I know of Wes Bentley from American Horror Story. However, I completely forgot he was in American Beauty. Another interesting character is Cole Hauser as Rip Wheeler, the ranch foreman. Rip was raised on the ranch and is fiercely loyal to the family, and especially John Dutton. Quick with his fists and unafraid of a little gunsmoke, he will do anything to protect the ranch and John, and by anything, I do mean anything. Every option is on the table, including murder. It's still the Old West out here. Never forget that. And speaking of forgetting that we are in the Old West, Season 1 features Danny Houston as Dan Jenkins, a billionaire land developer who wants to build a resort and covets John's ranch. Danny Houston is another actor whose career I have followed with interest because he is the son of John Huston, one of the greatest directors of all time, with movies like 1941's The Maltese Falcon with Humphrey Bogart, perhaps my favorite movie of all time. Key Largo with Bogey and Bacall, another favorite movie. Humphrey Bogart was to John Huston what Johnny Depp is to Tim Burton, or actually Robert De Niro to Martin Scorsese seems more appropriate. The African Queen with Bogey and Katharine Hepburn. The Treasure of the Sierra Madre, and The Misfits with Clark Gable and Marilyn Monroe, the last movie for both of those legends. Danny also played a vampire in 2007's 30 Days of Night. Not the greatest vampire movie, but still pretty cool and certainly worth a watch. That is, if you like vampires. The ranch hands are just as fascinating and colorful as the main cast, and one of the most charming is Tater, the hard-drinking, hard-riding, almost incomprehensible ranch hand from Texas. I recommend subtitles. As portrayed by Jennifer Landon, starting in Season 3. If that name sounds familiar, it is because she is the daughter of Michael Landon, another Hollywood legend, from Highway to Heaven, Little House on the Prairie, and perhaps the seminal Western TV series Bonanza. Another ranch hand I enjoy is Forey J. Smith as Lloyd, an actual cowboy, former rodeo star, with a credit for Tombstone on his IMDb page, which is one of my favorite westerns. He reminds me of Sam Elliott and adds a level of authenticity and verisimilitude to every scene he's in. Also of note is Jefferson White as Jimmy Herdstrom, a lost cause who gets one last chance at redemption at the ranch. John takes him on as a favor to Jimmy's grandfather, because loyalty and honor count in John's world, and Jimmy finds a purpose, a family, and a place in the world at Yellowstone Ranch. Jimmy reminds me of Jesse from Breaking Bad. He starts Season 1 as a loser trailer trash meth head, a character for which I have very little patience, and yet he has one of the greatest arcs in the show. Jimmy grows on you, quickly. And that is thanks to writer Taylor Sheridan, who is a master at creating charismatic, believable characters and sharp, witty dialogue that resonates and bounces off the screen. Taylor Sheridan started out acting, and apparently he was in Sons of Anarchy, though I do not recall him. He is featured as Travis Wheatley, a horse trader and friend of the ranch, and his love of horses and this way of life is evident. He can ride, and he knows his way around a horse. Rodeo and Western riding horse shows are also featured, and I get the feeling that we are seeing cameos of actual rodeo stars that, regrettably, I cannot identify or recognize. Rodeo to me seems like NASCAR, except with horses, and I feel as if I'm missing out on another level of this show, because I am sadly unfamiliar with that world. The Native American issue is also addressed. It cannot be ignored, and in many ways, Yellowstone is a microcosm of the indigenous history of North America. Kayce's wife Monica is a teacher on the reservation, as portrayed by Kelsey Asbely, and their son Tate is half native, with a foot in both worlds. The chief or chairman of the tribe, Thomas Rainwater, as played by Gil Birmingham, has a master plan to build a string of casinos and bankrupt John and buy back the Yellowstone. They are adversaries, but often find themselves on the same side of the chessboard, the enemy of my enemy being my friend. The complexity of the Native American issue is presented fairly and authentically. Everyone acknowledges that the land was stolen, and the Duttons, and by proxy everyone else who isn't a Native American, do not belong here. Even John Dutton acknowledges it, but he's not about to give up his ranch. And you have to ask yourself, would you? The ranch is their family home for the past 100 years. Generations of Duttons have lived and died working and defending the ranch. You just don't walk away from that. You can't, and at this point the Duttons belong to the land just as much as the natives. Certainly more than these new interlopers from California and back east.
Safe travel. Remember to
If I have a complaint, and it's a very, very minor one, it is that I don't like the opening theme and credits. I mean, it's adequate and it does the job, but it's nothing special. You know who had great opening credits with emotionally stirring musical themes? Westworld, True Blood, Deadwood. Note that these are all HBO shows. HBO has always had very stylish and artistic opening credits, but their shows tend to lose steam after a couple seasons. And as of this video, Yellowstone is still going strong in Season 5. Everything's a trade-off.
Hello.
In summary, if you are looking for a modern western with fascinating characters, compelling if a bit formulaic storylines, and lots of horses, and really, why wouldn't you be, Yellowstone might be the show for you. And really, it's no more formulaic than every other show out there. That's the nature of the beast. There's only about 12 storylines in the world. Shakespeare and the Greeks wrote them down first, and everything's derivative from that. We keep telling the same stories, over and over, because we have the same hearts and the same experiences. The faces and names keep changing, but the story stays the same, like a heartbeat of humanity, connecting our shared history and experience. Didn't mean to get deep on you. This channel is all about video games, or in particular, this video game, and all we really do here is ride horses and see what kind of trouble we can get into. Much like Kevin Costner in Yellowstone. Everything's connected. I'm Superantonio. Thanks for watching. I appreciate your views. Like, comment, share, and subscribe, and hit that notification bell for daily Red Dead Redemption 2 content, and we shall meet again. Further on down the trail.
Yep. Get your horses ready. We have a train to rob.